The transport vessel drifted through empty space when its sensors screamed warnings across every console. Pilot Thoros gripped his controls as massive energy readings flooded the detection grid. His co-pilot stammered something about impossible power signatures while their passenger cabin erupted in panicked voices. They had been ferrying refugees from the outer colonies when this nightmare began. 3 weeks ago, the Kryn Collective started their purge. 17 worlds burned under their doctrine of galactic cleansing. The Insectoid Empire declared all inferior species forfeit. Billions died while the Galactic Council debated and argued. Committees formed. Subcommittees investigated. Nothing happened. Thoros himself lost family on the colony world of Thera. His sister and her children vanished in nuclear fire. The energy signature resolved into something solid. A warship emerged from hyperspace like a predator materializing from shadow. Thoros had served in merchant fleets for 30 years and seen vessels from every major civilization. This ship belonged to none of them. The hull stretched nearly 2 kilometers of angular darkness. Scarred armor plating covered every surface. No elegant curves or decorative elements. Pure function wrapped in menace. His computer identified the vessel after cross-referencing obscure databases. Human design, from Earth. The species that joined galactic society only 5 generations ago. They kept to themselves mostly, built colonies on harsh death worlds nobody else wanted. Thoros knew little about them except rumors. Humans came from a planet that tried to kill them daily. They evolved fighting everything, including each other. The human ship moved with disturbing grace for something so massive. Its engines burned with contained fury. Thoros watched his scanner feed as it approached Kryn military world Bastion 7, the staging ground where the collective coordinated their genocide. Thousands of warships orbited the planet. Defensive platforms dotted the space around it. Kryn commanders probably felt invincible there. No warning transmission came from the human vessel. No demands for surrender. No attempt at negotiation. Weapon ports opened along the dark hull like predatory eyes. Thoros barely had time to register what he saw before the first volley launched. Railgun rounds traveling at relativistic speeds crossed the distance in heartbeats. Kryn shields flared. Bright blue and then shattered like glass. The rounds punched through military stations and converted them to expanding clouds of debris. Plasma lances followed, coherent beams of stellar fire that carved through Kryn cruisers. The enemy ships exploded so fast their crews probably never knew what killed them. Thoros watched a Kryn dreadnought try to return fire. Its massive cannon charged and released. The shots splashed harmlessly against the human ship's shields. The return strike cut the dreadnought in half. His co-pilot pulled up tactical data. The human bombardment focused entirely on military targets. Defense platforms evaporated. Shipyards collapsed into molten ruins. Barracks complexes disappeared in plasma fire. But the civilian sections of Bastion 7 remained untouched. Residential districts, schools, hospitals, all ignored. This was not random destruction. This was surgical removal of military capability. The assault lasted 17 minutes. When it ended, Bastion 7's orbital space was empty of functional military hardware. Burning wreckage tumbled through vacuum. Emergency beacons wailed from damaged stations. The human ship hung motionless amid the devastation like a judge surveying sentenced criminals. Thoros intercepted military communications from the planet's surface. Kryn commanders screaming for reinforcements, demanding to know what attacked them. Their voices carried genuine fear. These were beings who had casually ordered the extinction of entire species. Now they begged for help like prey animals. One transmission cut through the others, human origin, cold and precise. Bastion 7 neutralized, Kryn military infrastructure eliminated. Moving to Target 2, all collective military positions are now designated for removal. You wanted to cleanse the galaxy. Let me show you what cleansing actually means. The voice belonged to someone who had seen war before, someone who understood violence not as spectacle but as tool. Thoros felt ice in his stomach. The Kryn Collective had awakened something they could not comprehend. Humans did not debate or form committees. They identified the problem and applied solution. His co-pilot whispered a question. Should they report this to authorities? Thoros laughed bitterly. Report to who? The council that spent 3 weeks talking while worlds burned. The diplomats who valued procedure over lives. What would they do? Condemn humanity while the Kryn prepared their next massacre. The human warship turned, its engines building charge for hyperspace jump. Thoros checked star charts and felt his breath catch. The ship's trajectory aimed directly at Kryn Industrial World Forge 3, another military hub, another staging ground for genocide. They were going to hit it next. A passenger entered the flight deck, a Thuran survivor like himself. She had watched the battle through the observation ports. Her face showed something Thoros had not seen since the attacks began. Hope, raw and desperate hope. They are doing what the Council refused to do, she said quietly. They are stopping it. Thoros nodded slowly. The human ship vanished into hyperspace. Already hunting its next target, he thought about his sister, about the children who died screaming, about 17 worlds of graves. The Galactic Council would probably condemn this, call it excessive force, debate the proper channels for justice. But Thoros knew the truth now. Justice through proper channels was just another word for doing nothing. The humans understood what bureaucrats could not. Sometimes mercy meant stopping those who would never stop themselves. Sometimes peace required the willingness to bring war. He set course for the nearest communication relay. Others needed to know, needed to understand what was coming. The Kryn Collective wanted to cleanse the galaxy of inferior species. They were about to learn what happened when you threatened the neighbors of a species that clawed its way to sentience on a death world. Humans did not fight fair. They fought to win, and they had just begun. The transport jumped to hyperspace. Behind them, Bastion 7 burned. Ahead, the galaxy held its breath. Humanity had entered the war, not with diplomacy or debate, but with fire and fury. The Kryn would learn. Predators exist in every ecosystem, and Earth had sent its apex. The emergency session of the Galactic Council convened in chaos. Representatives from 43 species shouted over each other, while holographic displays showed smoking ruins of Kryn military installations. Ambassador Quinn of the Velen delegation stood at the central podium trying to restore order. Her pacifist species had never witnessed warfare like this. Gentle beings who resolved conflicts through meditation and careful discourse. The images from Forge 3 made her physically ill. 6 Kryn worlds hit in 4 days, every military complex reduced to slag. Their vaunted fleet scattered and burning. The human warship called Retribution moved through space like an executioner working down a list. No negotiations, no warnings, pure systematic destruction. Some council members called it genocide. Others called it justice finally delivered. Intelligence Officer Dren approached the podium with data files glowing in his 6-fingered hands. The reptilian analyst had spent decades tracking military capabilities across known space. His report silenced the chamber. The human vessel demonstrates technological superiority exceeding our projections by at least 2 centuries. Their weapons achieve targeting precision we believed physically impossible. Analysis of strike footage shows 0 civilian casualties, despite extensive urban proximity to military targets. Quinn studied the tactical breakdowns. The Retribution's railguns could thread a needle from 300,000 kilometers. Their plasma systems adjusted mid-flight to avoid non-combatant structures. Every shot calculated, every target verified. This was not blind rage. This was controlled fury applied with surgical exactness. Somehow that made it more terrifying. A Kryn delegate stood, his chitinous frame vibrating with barely contained anger. The humans are war criminals. They destroy our sovereign territory without provocation. Murmurs of agreement rippled through several delegations. Quinn felt disgust rising in her throat. She pulled up files the council had buried in committees. 17 worlds, species rendered extinct, billions dead, all at Kryn hands, all while the council debated proper response protocols. Provocation, she said quietly, her voice cutting through the noise. You call genocide of 17 civilizations no provocation. You exterminated children, you burned nurseries, you boasted about cleansing inferior genetics. The chamber fell silent. Quinn rarely raised her voice. her species embodied calm. But watching bureaucracy protect monsters while condemning those who stopped them broke something inside her. The Kryn delegate attempted another argument, but Dren interrupted with new footage. The screen showed a Kryn military command bunker, commanders frantically moving civilian families into the facility, using them as human shields. The Retribution's response appeared moments later, a precision strike that collapsed only the military command section while leaving the civilian areas structurally sound. Rescue teams pulled families out unharmed while Kryn officers lay buried in their own headquarters. "They can distinguish targets we cannot," Dren stated flatly. "Their sensor technology identifies military personnel versus civilians at the molecular level. They know who stands where. They choose what burns and what does not." He pulled up another file. Intercepted human communications show extensive reconnaissance. They have been watching the Kryn for months, mapping every installation, cataloging every commander. They know more about the collective than the collective knows about itself. Quinn received a message on her private channel, reports from refugee camps, survivors of Kryn atrocities, their reactions to the human campaign. She played the audio for the council, a mother from Thera whose family died in the purge. "This is not cruelty. This is someone finally caring enough to act. The council sent us thoughts and prayers. Humans sent a warship. I know which one matters." The chamber erupted again. Some delegates demanded humanity be sanctioned. Others argued for recognition of legitimate defense. Quinn saw the schism forming. Species that suffered under Kryn aggression supported the humans. Comfortable civilizations far from the killing fields condemned them. Easy to preach mercy when your children were not the ones burning. New intelligence arrived. Kryn High Command was relocating to a hidden fortress world, taking with them experimental weapons programs. Dren's analysis painted a horrifying picture. Reality fracture technology capable of collapsing entire star systems. The Kryn planned to use it if pushed to desperation. They would rather destroy the galaxy than accept defeat. Quinn made a decision that would likely end her diplomatic career. She requested emergency authorization to contact the human vessel directly. Half the council voted no, half voted yes. Gridlock. She did it anyway, transmitted on every frequency until the Retribution responded. A human face appeared on screen, weathered features, gray hair, eyes that had seen too much war, Captain Reed. "Ambassador," he greeted her with professional courtesy. "I assume you are here to ask us to stop." His tone suggested he already knew the answer and was not interested. "I am here to understand," Quinn replied. "Your methods terrify the council, your precision awes our military analysts. Your targets justify themselves, but where does it end? When do you stop?" Reed was quiet for a moment. Behind him she saw a wall covered in names and faces, thousands of them. "Those are the people the Kryn killed," he said softly. "My crew passes that wall every day. Every name is someone who waited for help that never came. We stop when the Kryn can never do this again. We stop when every weapon they built is scrap. Every commander who ordered genocide faces trial. We stop when the galaxy is safe from them." "And if the council orders you to stand down?" Quinn asked. "Then the council can explain to the next 17 worlds why procedure mattered more than their lives." Reed's image flickered. "We are not monsters, Ambassador. We are people who understand that sometimes mercy means stopping those who know no mercy themselves. You want us to negotiate with species that burn children. That is not diplomacy. That is complicity." The transmission ended. Quinn stood in silence. The council chamber erupted in fresh debate, but she barely heard it. Reed's words echoed in her mind, the wall of names, the steady resolve. Humans had drawn a line, not from hatred, but from witnessing what happened when civilized species did nothing. She pulled up projected casualty figures. Analysts estimated Kryn planned to hit 23 more worlds, hundreds of billions dead. That was the alternative to human intervention. That was the cost of proper diplomatic channels. Quinn cast her vote, recognized the human action as legitimate defense. Let them finish what the council lacked courage to start. History would judge, but the living would remember who actually helped. Reed stood in the observation deck of the Retribution watching Kryn homeworld rotate below. continents dotted with cities that had no idea what was coming. His tactical officer reported final coordinates locked, weapons charged, target packages confirmed. One word from him and the Kryn military infrastructure would cease to exist, but something made him hesitate. His second-in-command approached. Lieutenant Hayes carried a data pad with intelligence reports. Reconnaissance confirms Kryn High Command evacuated to Terminus Fortress. They left skeleton crews running the military networks. The real commanders are gone. Reed nodded slowly. That complicated things, destroying empty installations, felt hollow. They needed the leadership. The ones who ordered the genocide. The ship's intelligence analyst burst onto the deck, her face pale. Captain, we intercepted transmissions. Kryn activated their experimental weapon. They hit our supply convoy near the Helios sector. Reed felt his blood freeze. That convoy carried medical supplies for refugee camps, 3 transport ships, crew of 200, all volunteers helping survivors. The analyst pulled up sensor data. The Kryn weapon ripped open subspace and swallowed the entire convoy, not destroyed, erased, removed from existence itself. The star system around them collapsed into a spatial anomaly that would kill anything approaching for centuries. Reed stared at the readings while rage built behind his eyes. This was beyond warfare, beyond any acceptable conduct. His crew demanded immediate retaliation. Weapons officers begged for permission to bombard the homeworld. Marines wanted to deploy and drag every Kryn into custody. Even gentle Hayes suggested glassing the military districts. Reed understood their anger, felt it burning in his own chest. 200 people vanished. Families would never recover bodies, never have closure. But crossing that line meant becoming what they fought against. Targeting civilians in revenge would make humanity no better than the Kryn collective. Reed had seen that path before, during Earth's unification wars, watching good people turn monstrous because they let rage dictate tactics. He refused to lead his crew down that road. All hands stand down, his voice cut through the anger. We do not target civilians ever, regardless of what they have done. Objections started, but he raised a hand. The Kryn leadership wants us to lose control. They want us to prove their propaganda right, that humans are savage destroyers. We deny them that victory. He ordered the communications officer to open all frequencies, planetary, system-wide, galactic. This message would reach everyone. Reed composed himself and began speaking. Kryn people, your government has used a weapon of mass extinction against unarmed humanitarian workers. They did this hoping we would retaliate against you, hoping we would give them justification for their actions. The feed showed Kryn civilians stopping in streets, watching public displays, hearing a human speak directly to them for the first time. Your leaders have hidden from you the truth of their genocide, 17 worlds. Billions dead, all erased while they told you lies about genetic superiority. I am sending you the evidence now. Judge for yourselves what your government has done in your name. Intelligence officers transmitted everything. Footage of the massacres, Kryn military communications celebrating kills, high command documents outlining the extermination program, children burning, cities destroyed, species rendered extinct. The Kryn population recoiled in horror. Their government censored all outside information. They had no idea. You have 48 hours, Reed continued. Surrender all military assets, turn over every commander involved in the genocide. Do this and your civilization survives. Refuse and I will systematically dismantle every military structure on your planet. Your cities will stand, your people will live, but your capacity for war ends today. The transmission ended. Across the Kryn homeworld, chaos erupted. Millions took to the streets demanding answers. Military officers defected by the hundreds. Some tried to arrest their commanders. Others fled to neutral embassies. The fabric of Kryn society tore itself apart under the weight of revealed truth. Quinn arrived on the Retribution with a council delegation. Emergency authorization granted because the situation spiraled beyond normal procedures. Reed met them in the docking bay, still wearing his uniform stained with sweat and stress. The ambassador looked exhausted. "You have created a civil war," she said without preamble. I have shown them what their government is, Reed replied. What they do with that information is their choice. He led them through the ship, past the memorial wall where new names were added. The convoy crews now listed among the dead. Quinn stopped to read them, her eyes filling with tears. They reached the command center where holographic displays tracked everything happening on the Kryn homeworld. Protests turned violent. Military factions fought each other, reformists against hardliners. The species was tearing itself in two. This is chaos, one council delegate complained. You have destabilized an entire civilization. They destabilized themselves by building their society on genocide. Hayes interjected. The lieutenant stood at his station monitoring communications. These people honestly believed they were cleansing the galaxy for the greater good. Their government fed them lies and they consumed them. Eagerly, truth is painful, but necessary. Intelligence reported that Kryn High Command rejected the ultimatum, broadcast from their hidden fortress. They called the humans cowards for not attacking civilians, claimed human mercy was weakness, promised to deploy more reality weapons, turn the entire galaxy into spatial anomalies if needed, mutual destruction rather than surrender. Reed checked the chronometer, 47 hours since his broadcast, 1 hour until deadline, Kryn leadership still hiding, their homeworld population largely in favor of surrender. But without government cooperation, the military assets remained active, automated defense systems, weapon platforms, remote installations. He ordered the fleet to combat positions. If the deadline passed without compliance, he would do exactly what he promised. Dismantle their war machine piece by piece. Hayes suggested sending special forces to Terminus Fortress. Neutralize leadership directly. Reed approved the mission. 12 operators volunteered, veterans who understood the stakes. Quinn watched preparations with mixture of admiration and horror. Humans moved with absolute certainty. Every crew member knew their role, no hesitation, no doubt. This was species that evolved making hard choices. They did not agonize over decisions. They made them and lived with consequences. The countdown reached 0, no surrender. Kryn High Command broadcast one final message. Come to Terminus if you dare, we will take the galaxy with us. Reed looked at his weapons officer. Target package Omega, fire when ready. The retribution systems hummed with building power. Judgment Day arrived for those who thought themselves above consequences. The Retribution's main cannon fired with enough force to shake the entire vessel. Energy output comparable to a small star compressed into a beam that crossed space in microseconds. It struck the Kryn homeworld's military command network and burned through it like tissue paper. Reed watched as 40 years of military infrastructure evaporated in 7 minutes. Defense satellites, command bunkers, weapons facilities, all gone. Not a single civilian district touched. The targeting systems identified every non-combatant structure within 1,000 meters and adjusted fire accordingly. Schools stood intact next to molten craters where barracks had been. Hospitals operated normally while nearby military hospitals ceased to exist, precision beyond anything the galaxy had witnessed. Kryn civilians watched their military dissolve and realized they were completely defenseless. No shields, no weapons, no orbital platforms. Centuries of martial pride reduced to smoking holes in the ground. Some panicked, others felt relief. The hardline government that dragged them into this nightmare no longer had tools to continue fighting. Reed authorized landing operations. Human Marines deployed in drop pods that burned through atmosphere like meteors. They secured former military sites, established perimeters, distributed food and medical supplies to shocked Kryn civilians. A young Kryn female approached a Marine cautiously, expecting brutality. The human gave her child a ration pack and medical scanner. "We are not here to hurt you," the Marine said gently. "We are here to make sure your government cannot hurt anyone else." Hayes prepared his strike team for the Terminus operation. 12 operators checked gear in the launch bay. They knew the odds. Kryn Fortress world bristled with automated defenses. Even without leadership present, the installations would fight. Getting in meant running a gauntlet of weapons designed to stop invasion fleets. The mission was nearly suicidal. Every operator volunteered anyway. Intelligence confirmed Kryn High Command location, deep inside Terminus, surrounded by experimental weapons and reality fracture generators. They planned to activate everything if threatened, take themselves and attackers into subspace collapse, mutual annihilation rather than face justice. Reed approved Hayes' plan despite knowing it might cost them all. Quinn remained on the Retribution, observing occupation operations. She expected brutality based on human military reputation. Instead, she watched Marines helping rebuild infrastructure, protecting Kryn civilians from their own hardline military remnants. Humans treated wounded Kryn soldiers, separated war criminals from regular personnel, every action measured and documented. "Your species confuses me," she told Reed during a briefing. "You wage war with such ferocity but show mercy at every opportunity. You could have destroyed this world. Instead, you are feeding their children." Reed smiled tiredly. "We fight to end threats, not to satisfy bloodlust. These civilians did not order genocide. Their government did. We hold the guilty accountable, not the innocent." The Galactic Council split completely. Half the members supported humanity's actions, recognized it as legitimate defense. The other half demanded sanctions, claimed unilateral military action set dangerous precedent. Earth's ambassador told them bluntly that humanity would leave when the job finished, not before. Security of the galaxy mattered more than council politics. Kryn resistance fighters emerged from hiding, hardliners who refused to accept defeat. They ambushed human patrols, sabotaged occupation supplies. Reed's orders were clear. Capture rather than kill, treat them as prisoners of war. Every captured fighter was processed, questioned. Many were low-level soldiers following orders. Those were released with warnings. Actual war criminals were detained for tribunal. Hayes' team launched toward Terminus in a stealth craft. The journey took 3 days. They used the time reviewing intelligence, studying fortress layouts, planning breach points. Everyone knew this was one-way trip if things went wrong. But 200 convoy crew deserved justice. 17 worlds of dead deserved accountability. That made the risk worthwhile. They approached Terminus and immediately encountered defensive fire, automated turrets, missile platforms, energy weapons. The stealth craft dodged and weaved, its armor taking hits that would have destroyed lesser vessels. Pilot threaded through the barrage with skill bordering on supernatural. They crashed into the fortress shield perimeter and cut their way through using plasma torches. Inside the fortress, Hayes split his team. 6 would secure the shield generator. 6 would hunt the high command. Every operator carried recording equipment, evidence gathering as important as neutralization. They moved through corridors filled with Kryn defense systems, automated guns, gas traps, pressure plates. This place was designed to kill intruders, human special forces trained in worse environments. Hayes' group found the shield control, fought through security, faced automated mechs twice their size. Explosives and concentrated fire brought them down. They reached the generator and began shutdown sequence. That was when High Command made personal appearance. Supreme Commander Vector, leader of the genocide, stood in the doorway with a dozen guards. "You should have killed civilians," Vector hissed, his translator making the clicking language comprehensible. "You should have shown your true nature, proven you are the monsters we claimed." Hayes kept his weapon trained but did not fire. "We are not monsters. We are people who stop monsters. There is a difference you will never understand." Vector laughed, activated something on his wrist. "Then die with false righteousness." Alarms blared throughout the fortress, reality weapons beginning activation sequence. He would collapse the entire facility into subspace, take everyone with him. Hayes shot him without hesitation. Guards returned fire. The corridor became chaos. Reed detected energy buildup at Terminus, the reality weapons powering up. Hayes transmitted they had captured High Command, but the fortress was going critical. Decision time. Fire on Terminus and risk killing his own people, or wait and let the weapons activate, devastating the region. A third option appeared. Hayes' voice crackled through. "Shield generator destroyed, Captain. Get a lock on this fortress. We marked the reality weapon cores. Precision strike can disable them. We will handle evacuation." Reed's tactical officer confirmed targeting solution, 63 precision points. Hit them all simultaneously or the weapons chain react. Hayes, you have 90 seconds to get your people clear, Reed announced. His crew moved with practiced efficiency, every weapon system locking coordinates. This was what humans did best. Impossible shots under terrible pressure. The galaxy watched, waited to see if mercy would cost humanity its finest operators. The Retribution fired, 63 simultaneous strikes, beams crossing space with perfect accuracy. They hit exactly as Hayes' team cleared the blast zones. Reality weapons went inert. Fortress shields failed. Kryn High Command in custody. Mission accomplished at terrible cost. 3 operators killed, 4 wounded, but they got them, justice secured. The tribunal chamber on Accord 9 station filled beyond capacity. Representatives from 112 species attended. This was the largest gathering since the Galactic Council's formation. Everyone wanted to witness what happened when genocide met accountability. Kryn High Command stood in containment fields. Supreme Commander Vector and his inner circle, 23 individuals who ordered the death of billions. Reed attended in full military dress. Medals he never wore displayed for the occasion. This was not about him, but he understood symbolism mattered. The galaxy needed to see the humans who stopped the genocide, needed to understand what drove them. Quinn sat in the diplomatic section. Her support for humanity had cost her politically, but she slept well at night. The prosecution presented evidence over 6 weeks, footage from 17 worlds, communications ordering the exterminations, Kryn military logs celebrating kill counts, survivor testimony that left the chamber in tears. One Thuran mother described watching her children burn. Vector showed no remorse, claimed they were purifying the galaxy. Defense argued the Kryn acted on religious grounds. Their doctrine demanded removal of inferior genetics. The tribunal rejected that immediately. Genocide is genocide regardless of justification. Belief does not excuse atrocity. Vector's smug expression finally cracked when the verdict read guilty on all counts. He screamed about human hypocrisy, how they destroyed Kryn military might. The chief judge, a villain like Quinn, addressed Vector directly. Humanity destroyed your capacity for war, not your people. They showed restraint you never considered, mercy you never offered. Your civilization survives because humans chose differently than you. That is the difference between justice and genocide. Sentence was life imprisonment, no parole, no appeal. Galactic reactions split predictably. Species that suffered Kryn aggression celebrated. Comfortable civilizations far from danger complained about precedent. Earth's ambassador addressed the council with simple question. When would they have acted? How many more worlds had to burn before proper channels produced results? The silence was damning. Reed walked through the Retribution one final time before decommissioning ceremony. The ship would become museum. Testament to what happened when inaction met its limit. He stopped at the memorial wall, 3 more names added, the operators who died at Terminus. He traced their names with fingers that had ordered so much destruction. A young ensign approached nervously, barely 20, fresh from academy. Captain, was it worth it, all the destruction, all the lives lost? Reed considered the question carefully, easy to give heroic platitudes, harder to face truth. We stopped 23 worlds from burning, prevented billions of deaths, but we paid in blood and morality and sleep. I will never know if we chose correctly, only that we chose. Kryn homeworld, slowly rebuilt, new government formed from reform-minded civilians. They erected memorial listing every genocide victim, every name, every world. Kryn children studied what their ancestors did. Learned the cost of believing superiority justified atrocity. Some species would never forgive them, that was fair. Forgiveness must be earned. Human occupation forces withdrew after 2 years. They left behind infrastructure, schools, medical facilities, agricultural support. Critics called it manipulation. Reed called it giving them a chance. We broke their war machine, now they rebuild themselves. That is how you end cycles of violence. Hayes received promotion, led new galactic security force, combination of military and diplomatic personnel. Their mission was preventing conflicts before they required intervention like the Kryn situation. He recruited from species across the galaxy, those who understood sometimes peace needed guardians willing to fight for it. The Galactic Council reformed, new protocols for responding to genocide, faster decision-making, less bureaucracy. Humanity accepted permanent council seat with conditions. They would participate diplomatically but retained military autonomy. Nobody trusted politicians to make combat decisions. The vote passed narrowly. 5 years later, Thoros visited the Retribution Museum, brought his family. The ship sat in orbital dock around Earth, preserved exactly as it was. The memorial wall remained. New visitors added flowers and tokens, remembering those who died in the genocide and those who stopped it. His granddaughter asked why humans intervened. "Because someone had to," Thoros said quietly. The council debated while worlds burned. Humans decided that was unacceptable. They paid a price for that decision, their reputation, their innocence, their certainty that they are always right, but they saved us. Reed retired to small farm in Earth's countryside, grew vegetables, raised livestock, lived simply. Former crew visited regularly. They rarely discussed the campaign. All carried memories they could not share with civilians, the weight of decisions made in moments, lives taken and saved. One day Quinn arrived unannounced. She brought message from the council, formal recognition of the Retribution campaign as legitimate defense. Took them 5 years to admit it. Better late than never. Reed read the document and laughed bitterly. They know we would. Do it again? That terrifies them more than the Kryn ever did, because we proved that will matters more than process. Would you do it again? Quinn asked. Knowing everything that happened, all the destruction, the political fallout, the moral complexity, Reed looked at his fields, peaceful and green, far from stars and war. I hope I never have to answer that question, but if genocide returns and the council debates while people die, yes, I would do it again. New human ships launch from Earth's orbital yards, not warships, patrol vessels designed for protection rather than conquest. Crews trained in both combat and diplomacy. The lesson of the Retribution absorbed, strength enables peace only when wielded with wisdom. Humanity learned that on their homeworld, taught it to the galaxy at terrible cost. The Kryn slowly integrated back into galactic society. Some species refused to trade with them, others gave cautious chances. A young Kryn diplomat met with Hayes, asked how her species could ever make amends. He told her honestly, "You cannot erase what happened. You can only ensure it never happens again. Teach your children, remember your victims, be better than your ancestors. That is all anyone can ask." Final transmission from the Retribution Museum played on loop. Reed's voice recorded before decommissioning. "We did not want this war. We did not seek glory and destruction. We saw evil and chose to stop it. That made us both heroes and villains depending on who judges. I can live with that, as long as the 23 worlds we saved get to live at all." The galaxy moved forward, scarred but learning. The Retribution sat in orbit. Reminder of what happens when mercy runs out, when patience ends, when someone finally says enough. Humanity proved that Deathworld evolution created not just survivors but protectors, beings who understood darkness well enough to fight it. That was their gift to the stars. That was their curse.